Hey, what's up guys, so you know Spez here. This is my review of the iPhone 6 Plus, a big phone, the biggest iPhone ever released. And Apple is betting that you are going to like the extra size. And so with that being said, it's going to take a look at the design of this new iPhone 6 Plus. Now, when you first pick it up, if you've never owned or used a phone like a Samsung Galaxy Note or the LG G3, you may be shocked by the size. And a lot of my friends were, when I did let them borrow my iPhone, they were like kind of just turned off by it because it was so huge because they've been using the iPhone 5S and below. But for me, I've been using big phones over the past few years, so it wasn't really that big of a deal to me, and it's not too big. It is big, but it's not too big. But Apple has tried to combat this extra size of this new iPhone 6 Plus by making everything feel like one single piece and really taking unibody to the next step. And for example, if you were just to put your finger in the middle of the display and just move it all the way to the back of the phone, you'll find that your finger is not going to come across any type of separation between the glass and the aluminum body. Everything just feels like it's just melted together, and it does make for a very nice sensation when you are holding the phone in your hand, but it doesn't necessarily make the phone, I feel, better to hold than other big phones on the market. And that's partly because it doesn't have any texture, anything that your hands can really grip onto, because everything is so smooth and so kind of slippery. But it does look really good, and it does fit in your pocket a little bit better, but I think Apple could benefit from having some texture back like the Samsung Galaxy Note lineup of phones, or just something on the edges that you can really just hold on to. And so me personally, I have big hands, so I feel that I'm able to have a nice hold of this phone. I don't feel like I'm going to drop it that much. But if you do have smaller hands or you're just kind of concerned about it, the best bet would be able to go into a store and actually get your hands on the phone itself. Now, some other changes with the design is that the power button has been moved from the top to the right-hand side of the phone, and right below that, you'll find the SIM card slot. And on the left-hand side, you will find the mute switch and also the volume buttons, which have been enlarged to make it a little bit easier to press on this bigger phone. And then on the bottom, you will find the lightning port, the headphone jack, and also the speaker. Now, the speaker has not been placed on the front like other popular phones like the HTC One and the new Moto X, but the speaker does sound louder and does sound better than last generations, but I do find myself often covering it up with my finger when I am gaming or watching a video, so Apple could probably in the future make it a lot better just by putting the speakers on the front. Now, another design characteristic of this iPhone is that the camera is actually poking out of the back of the phone, so it's not flush with the aluminum body. So this is a legitimate concern that if you are going to drop your phone, that camera will actually be the first thing that could possibly come in contact with the ground before the rest of the phone does, and that could lead to it breaking a little bit easier. Now, in my experience, I have been slamming this on the desk, so I don't think it's going to break, that easily. But now, on to the main reason why this new phone is bigger. That's because it does have a 5.5-inch full 1080p display and is rocking 401 ppi, that's pixels per inch. And so when you are gaming or watching a movie, it's going to be more enjoyable on this huge display. And it really makes me feel like I don't need to take my iPad mini a lot of places because I am going to be watching a movie. It's a big enough screen where I'll be totally satisfied to sit there for a couple hours and watch some type of video content on it. Now, if the screen size is still a little too daunting for you, Apple's added a software feature called reachability. Now, reachability allows you to simply just double tap on the home button and it'll bring whatever that's on your display down to the bottom. And so if you're on the home screen, you'll bring those icons that are at the top down to the bottom, or if you're in settings, it'll bring the window down. You can still scroll through and pick whatever setting that you're looking for. And also if you're in Safari, it just makes it a little bit easier for you to tap those bookmarks that may be at the top. Now, this new display wouldn't be anything if this phone didn't have the hardware to run some of the latest games and software that could take advantage of it. So Apple has added the 64-bit A8 processor alongside the new M8 coprocessor to it, but it still only has 1 gigabyte of RAM, and I'll talk about that in my software portion of this review, how that affects it. But some more good things with the internals is that it does have voice over LTE, so if you're on a carrier now that doesn't allow you to talk and also use data, this will hopefully fix all of that once it's launched on all the carriers. It also does have Wi-Fi calling, so if you are in a situation where you have really bad cell reception, but you are able to connect to a Wi-Fi network, you can make or accept a call, and once you walk outside or just get to a better reception area, you'll automatically switch over to your cellular network, which is going to be a plus for people in those type of situations. And then lastly, with connectivity, it does support 802.11 AC, so if you do have a router that supports that, you're just going to get better and faster Wi-Fi. Now, when you have a bigger phone, you normally expect it to have better battery life because it should have a bigger battery, and that is the case. This iPhone 6 Plus does get better battery life than the previous iPhones. I am comfortably able to use it from the very beginning of the day and make it to the night and still have about 20% or so left. And so even though this battery life is more reliable, this still is a phone that I need to put on the charger every single night. And so Apple did sacrifice the battery size to make this phone thin, and thinness is a good thing in my opinion. But hopefully they can kind of marry the two between battery life and design a little bit better in the next iPhone. Now, last year, Apple introduced the Touch ID home button into the iPhone 5S, and you'll still find that here with the 6 Plus. Now, Touch ID allows you to securely unlock your phone using your fingerprint and also make purchases in the iTunes and App stores. But now with iOS 8, Apple has allowed third-party developers to get on board and incorporate Touch ID inside of their apps. So an app like 1Password now, when you needed a long password to really unlock it, now you can just use your fingerprint to do that, which is very convenient. But the major new feature that's going to be taking advantage of Touch ID in this new phone is called Apple Pay. Now, Apple Pay hasn't launched just yet at the time of this review video. It should be launching sometime in October. And this will allow you to make secure payments using Touch ID and also whatever credit card that you may have saved inside of your phone. And so Apple is definitely asserting that this is going to be very secure and just really make your life a little bit easier at checkout. And so Apple Pay uses Touch ID and also NFC to work together to make this happen. Now, unfortunately, NFC is locked down to only Apple Pay at this time. You can't use NFC to connect to any type of camera or any other type of the device to use it, which is kind of a letdown. But if you see the pattern that Apple has done next year with iOS 9, we'll probably see NFC open up. All right, so now it's going to move on to my favorite part of any cell phone review. This is the camera. Now, the 6 Plus has an 8 megapixel camera, which does seem a little light compared to other phones in the market that may have 16 or 20 megapixel cameras on them. But don't be fooled by that because it still performs very well. Now, part of the reason is because Apple has added their new Focus Pixel technology, which I'm not going to get into all the little scientific details about it, but it's just going to make your pictures look a lot better. And low light pictures should look better because it can get down to f2.2 as far as the aperture. And also it does have optical image stabilization, the first iPhone to feature this. So if you are going to be taking videos, it's going to be a lot steadier, a lot smoother. And also your pictures, if you do have a shaky hand, again, and you are in low light situations, those shots should come out a little bit better because of the OIS. Now, one thing that is missing in the video department for this camera is the ability to record in 4K. You can't do this with the iPhone 6 Plus. It clearly has the hardware to be able to do it, but Apple has elected not to put that in this phone, which is definitely a letdown. But one thing they try to make it up with is that they have added their new slow-mo to be able to record at 240 frames per second. Now, slow-mo almost makes everything better, and I say almost, so be careful what you take in slow-mo, but you can tell by these samples that it's a very cool ability to have with your videos and something that is very nice to show off with this new phone. And so a couple other new things with this camera is that you have a time-lapse mode, and also you can control the exposure by tapping and then sliding your finger up and down on the display. And just overall, this camera is still one of the most reliable cameras on a smartphone nowadays. So in most situations, you still should be able to get a very nice shot with this iPhone 6 Plus. So that's the camera. That's going to wrap up all the hardware, but now it's going to talk about the software. Now, the 6 Plus is running iOS 8, which is following iOS 7, and iOS 7 was mostly about a visual change. Now, iOS 8 is kind of fine-tuning that a little bit, but it's really all about adding features that a lot of people on iOS have been wanting for a very long time. Now, one of these new features is the ability to have widgets, but these widgets aren't going to be found on your home screen like other OSs. They're going to be found in the notification center, and to access the notification center, you need to slide your finger from the top to the bottom of the display. And so while it is awesome to have these widgets for sports and news and weather and also your task managers, I wish that Apple would have took advantage of that extra screen real estate on the iPhone 6 Plus to allow you to have one or two widgets on your home screen, because I often forget that I have widgets in my notification center because I don't visit that often throughout the day. But that may just be me, but I would like to see widgets on the home screen, at least on the 6 Plus, because it has a very big display. Another highly requested feature in iOS 8 is the ability to add third-party keyboards. So you can download one from the App Store like Swift, and now they'll allow you to be able to draw out your word with your finger. But one of my favorite keyboards to use is actually the GIF keyboard, which has preloaded GIFs you can easily add to a text message, or you can download your own GIF and add it to the keyboard itself. And it's just a very fun thing to do because I send a lot of these out in my messages daily. But the third-party keyboard support has been one of the buggiest areas, at least for me, because when I go to add an emoji, sometimes I try to go back to the original keyboard that I'm using. It will switch to a whole new keyboard. And also, too, when I'm trying to switch a keyboard, it'll be cut off on the display sometimes. So this is one of the things that needs to be ironed out by Apple. And then the stock Apple keyboard also has predictive text now. And other features in iOS 8, which I really found very convenient that a lot of people haven't been talking about, is family sharing, which will allow 6 people to share apps and share music and things with your iOS device. And then you also have the new Health app, which acts as a meeting place for all of your fitness tracking apps to talk together and to work together, and you have all of your information in one single location. And then I do like the option to have certain health information on your emergency screen. So say unfortunately you're in a car accident, you can't really respond to people. If they do pick up your phone and go to that emergency section, they'll be able to see your blood type or any medical conditions or allergies that you may have, and that could come in handy in a lot of different situations. And when it comes to how iOS 8 takes advantage of the big screen on the iPhone 6 Plus is by allowing you to have a few extra options on the stock keyboard for iOS. Now you do have cut, copy, and paste, and a back button, or basically an undo button, right there on the left-hand side of your keyboard now. And then with the messages and also the email app, on the left-hand side, you'll see all your different conversations that you have. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see that one conversation that you may have open, and you can interact with both of them at the same time. And so these are just a couple ways that Apple's taking advantage of the bigger screen in iOS 8 on the iPhone 6 Plus. So with all these new features and some I haven't mentioned, iOS 8 is a solid upgrade. It doesn't have that one feature like Siri was a couple years ago to really point to it and say, hey, this is why you want to upgrade to iOS 8. But I think a lot of these little things will make it a good experience for most people. But honestly, I felt that iOS 8 was a little slow running on this iPhone 6 Plus hardware. I had some bugs, some slowdown, and things don't work as fast as possible. And I think that partly is due to the fact that this iPhone still only has 1 gigabyte of RAM and is trying to do everything that is going on with the new version of iOS 8. But ultimately, guys, I am satisfied with this iPhone 6 Plus as a phone, and as an upgrade, it is a good option to take a look at. But one of the main things that's going to turn people off is going to be the sheer size of this phone. Luckily, you do have the option to go with the iPhone 6, which does have a slightly bigger screen than the previous iPhones, but does everything that this iPhone 6 Plus does besides the optical image stabilization with the camera. But like most phones, there still is room for improvement with this iPhone 6 Plus. And if you are using the iPhone 5s, this may not be a necessary upgrade for you. Weigh your options out. Really take a look at how you're going to use this new iPhone if you're interested in it, especially when Apple Pay launches, and see if it's going to fit in your lifestyle better than the phone that you have right now. So this is my review, guys, of the iPhone 6 Plus. Let me know what you think about this phone down below, and I'm really interested to see what you guys say. And like always, thanks for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed, and I will catch you later. Peace.